Hey everybody, good morning. It is a beautiful Tuesday. It's cool outside, a little wet from the rain. Um, I'm doing awesome. Had a few adjustments in my universe. I'm doing quite well. And here's my dog. Go lay down, baby. Go lay down, sugar. Go ahead. Go lay down. Go ahead. Go lay down. I know. You just had breakfast. Go lay down. It's okay. Go lay down. Go ahead. Go lay down. All right. So, anyways, I had a few adjustments in my universe, but you know, I like to listen to the most extreme network in on my channel, and that is the CNN network. Because CNN is the communist news network. It is letting you know what is coming down the pipeline, how they are going to justify even putting more clamps and restrictions on your freedom. And believe me, I want to be one of those that be like, okay, I don't care. I'll go out. I'll wear a mask. I'll do this. I'll do that. Go into restaurants and just run around as if this virus doesn't exist and think that that's going to be enough. I wish I could be one of those that just like, okay, whatever. But I know this is just, that's a false sense of security. Because now, even more so, they're going to be like, well, 50% of the population who is asymptomatic is responsible for the spread of corona. So then what makes the other 50%? Oh yeah, it's the symptomatic people, which means that which means that it's going to justify everybody to get tested. Now, how are they going to get into your world? Well, that's when they also stated about contact tracing, which I've told you before, the contact tracers are going to be the new Gestapo in your universe. Those are the people you want to run the fuck away from. But at some point, with the GPS, with your friends ratting you out that don't know any better, with cameras and surveillance and all the different tracking mechanisms, they're going to put you in some kind of vicinity of someone that did test positive. And guess what? Someone's knocking on your door. Guess what? Someone's calling you on your phone. And here's the thing, I don't answer my door to anybody. I don't even answer my phone to anyone unless I know who it is. Like I've trained myself not to be like answering my phone because I had trolls that would just troll the crap out of me a couple of years ago. So I've trained myself and conditioned myself, don't answer the phone. Because there's really no one I really want to talk to except for very specific people in my life. Okay? And I don't answer the door because I live in the ghetto. So when you live in the ghetto, you learn not to really answer the door. So that's my conditioning. And I don't have any kids. So it's not like my kids are going to be outside and here comes a contact tracer saying, hey, can I talk to your mommy? So I'm pretty much a hermit, which I'm fine with. I was trained that way. But a lot of you don't realize that yes, you have kids in college. Yes, you have kids. Yes, like I know that these employers are also going to be mandatory reporters, just like CPS. When someone's a psychotherapist or a psychologist or a teacher or any kind of official in the mental health world or doctor world, whatever, holistic, allopathic, whatever, they're mandatory reporters for people who are suicidal and for anything else. Well, there's going to be mandatory reporting as far as people being sick at work, and potentially they may even have people go, and if someone does test positive at your place of employment, that they're going to mandatory everybody get tested at your place of work. That's coming down the line too, you guys. Okay. I was saying yesterday, I didn't really fully finish what I was talking about, all the details, is that in 2018, the World Health Organization was selling the COVID-19 tests. So they were doing a mass distribution 2 years ago in 2018 because they knew this was coming down the pipeline. This is a pandemic. I wanted to give it all the benefit of the world that it was something organic, that it happens every so often, a cleansing. But no, humans, there's enough humans on this earth. I mean, we're not overpopulated. If we learned how to utilize the earth and teach people how to plant and have a nice, infrastructure with great intentions. All of us, 7 billion people, can be on this earth living symbiotically with nature. And we, right now, well, say a couple years ago, if we didn't have this pandemic, we would still be trying to survive. Yes, to be like world hunger, but we know we can fix world hunger. It doesn't have to be through vaccinations. It could be through food. So prior to this pandemic, if we would have tweaked a few things out there in the world, we could actually have 7 billion people living symbiotically with this earth. But the reason why we don't is because we have crazy maniacal people in charge. So, you know, the only thing I can say at this point is those that think you're free and those that think that you're relatively healthy, what's going to happen is that you're going to get tested. You might come up positive. You come up positive and you're in a situation where you can't be quarantined at home because of vulnerable population in your household. Yeah, you'll go to a FEMA camp or get quarantined, isolated in some remote facility. Yeah, you probably get forced vaccinated too, because that's also going to be a contingent down the road. We know that's going to happen because it's for public health purposes. So you just got to be aware of what's coming down the pipeline. I'm not trying to scare anyone. The more I condition you that this is what's going to happen, though they're not saying it in so many words on CNN, but they're kind of laying the groundwork. They're showing you the substantiation based upon their scientists, their authority, their officials, and you have to kind of read between the lines, okay? When they're saying, oh yeah, we knew that after Labor Day weekend, there's going to be more of an uptick of surges of coronavirus and now we're discovering now 50% of the people who are asymptomatic are the ones that are spreading it. Oh, now you're seeing a justification, and they're just putting in, and you know that the two bills in the House and the Senate are waiting for a major justification for them both to then put those bills through. Emergency passing of the S 4315, which is the Senate Tracing Act, as well as the HR 6666. Why RFK Jr. or Del Bigtree or Ron Paul has not even mentioned the S4315 that was introduced by Angus King, who is an independent major communist. I'll never know. I know why. I know why. I mean, I'm saying I'll never know is facetious. No, I know why Ron Paul, Rand Paul, Del Bigtree, and RFK Jr. are not mentioning the S4315 because it's easier to distract you with the HR 6666. And maybe that goes to the wayside and only the Senate bill goes through. And so you're like, oh yeah, HR 66 was vetoed, but guess what? The S4315 was put into play when you were distracted by thinking that HR 666 was vetoed. So let me tell you, there's some shit going on, and strategy, I tell you, I hand it to my government. I hand it to the architects of all of this, of compartmentalizing the mental health people, like the psychotherapists, saying, oh yeah, we're gonna help you deal with people who have mental health issues. And by the way, we have these experiments that you can do on children to see how it's going to be rolled out on the population. I gotta hand it to the architects. I gotta hand it to the Zionist New World Order, how strategic they are. But I'm telling you, don't be an idiot out there. Don't prove to the architects, the Zionists, the New World Order, that they are dealing with idiot sheep. Because I'm telling you, your ignorance, your idiocracies, your idiosyncrasies are going to be their strength. I'm telling you. Okay? And my own mother treated me like as if I was an idiot as far as whatever she was doing. And I finally got wind. I finally wised up to what the hell that I was raised in, what I was used for. And I've cut that cord. The spell has been broken. That relationship is done because it was all intentional. And I'm seeing what she practiced on my sister and I, as far as divide and conquer and other kind of bullshit that I went through. It's being rolled out to the population and it's coming to surface. And now it's going to be, now they're going to allow everything come to surface, and then they're going to reorganize, and then it's going to be again down the road at some point, I don't know when, where yes, you're going to have this whole shiny, oh yeah, life is wonderful at the top over here, right? Above, and you maintain law and order, you maintain the vaccinations, you maintain all the different therapeutics, guiding reproduction carefully, you have stayed up in your business, everyone's living this smart grid lifestyle. And then those that are not compliant, then there's the down below. As above, so below. So you'll have two different worlds going on, and that is exactly what's in our future. We've had as above, so below, but the below are coming above, and people were getting wind of it because they had to figure out the infrastructure. And when you want to figure out when you want to get a very definitive as above, so below, okay, two mirror worlds, you have to build the infrastructure to support the below world. Okay, I know I sound kind of crazy, but it's pretty much in your face. They showed you the elite pedophile network. They show you that is, what is going on. And then, with all these pedophiles that are being now thrown to the surface in your own community, I see it in my community. They're showing you, yes, this is a practice. Yes, many, many humans practice this. It's not going to end anytime soon. When you have 7 billion people procreating and no one, is really aligning their biochemistry, there's going to be sexual deviancy in the population. And then those people will be sniffed out and they'll be cordoned off and used as a way to manipulate the masses. They're doing that with different cultures. They're using people's weaknesses and all of their issues and their and all their PTSD as a way to then manipulate them into bringing in a more militarized police force. You've watched it the last 6 months, as far as all the looting, the riots, all of the political unrest. Okay, it's quite remarkable, the strategy of those that are basically running your goddamn country. So don't be stupid around this. Understand that, yeah, you may not be able to stop it, but you could be prepared for it and deal with it. Do the Jilly Juice. I'm telling you, the antibodies is exactly what they're after for you guys to be accumulating. And those antibodies will destroy you if you're not letting them release out through your waterfalls. Okay? Those antibodies is the number one bioweapon that's in the vaccines. The anti-vaxxers are completely distracted by RFK and by the holistic industry worrying about the adjuvants. Because guess what? The vaccine industry is now making a pledge. We're going to have a more safer vaccine. It's not going to have the adjuvants like whatever these anti-vaxxers are pointing out to people. But no one's talking about the antibodies in the vaccines in the anti-vax world. No, they're talking about the fucking adjuvants that are really minerals. Okay, what the anti-vaxxers don't realize is the antibodies is the number one bioweapon in the therapeutics, in the plasmid therapeutics, in the prescription drugs, in the nasal spray, as well as the vaccines, and then of course people who are shedding. So here's the thing with this whole pledging to have a safer vaccine from Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer and Moderna, and Inovio, which I do have stock in, is not even on the radar, so I don't know where they're coming up in. But those three companies are pledging to have a safer vaccine. Oh my God, the fox that watched the hen house. That's exactly what it is. They're going to pretend that they're going to give you a safer vaccine, or what the holistic people will call a green vaccine. You know what vaccine is? It's a fucking antibody. That's what vaccines are. They're full of antibodies. And they're going to make them far more aggressive. So you think that the vaccines and the antibodies or whatever, the vaccines were horrible a couple of years ago or even recently. Oh, imagine what these new ones are going to be. Okay, imagine what the new ones are going to be. And they are going to take down the very, very weak, as well as the relatively weak or relatively strong. They're going to take them down notch by notch by notch. And guess who they're going to blame it on? The anti-vaxxers. Guess who they're going to blame it on? The non-maskers. Guess who they're going to blame it on? The people that are walking around freely with no mask and not social distancing, and they're hanging out at a party. So all of your gatherings, whether it's a wedding, whether it's going out to dinner with your friends or with your husband, whether it's walking down the street hiking, they're going to use your freedoms as a way to blame for the spread of the COVID and the deaths of the people around you. That's how they're going to weaponize your freedom. They're going to use your pretending that this doesn't exist. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go do this, and that's what sucks, is that you don't want to demonize those that still want to maintain some semblance of normalcy. But we don't live in a normal world, you guys. Do you realize what is being rolled out here? Are you that freaking ostrich in your head in the sand, not realizing the more you ignore what is going on and pretend that life is normal, that you're going to go off and do your stuff and not give any kind of energy to warning, and not only your friends and family, yes, but realize that we're coming down. And I know I said that, you know, don't warn your friends. I mean, here's the thing. No matter what, no matter what, your freedoms are going to be weaponized. And how do you prepare yourself and your friends and family for what's to come? How do you, and you don't want to become political, you don't want to get into the freaking science because you're not very articulate about it. How do you prepare for what's to come? You need to have a family meeting. You need to let everybody know in your household what is coming down the line, what is going on. You need to organize yourself not to be siding on the side of the authority with the contact tracers. And how can I tell you guys to organize when you're so fucking disorganized? Well, I'm just going to say this. And I know that you guys, not all of you, are going to know how to warn. And I said, don't bother warning your friends and family because it's really out to save yourself. But here's the thing, too. When you're out there with everybody else, pretending like life is normal, you're not saving yourself. Because it takes one person to be a little bit different in the group. It takes one person to not be a follower. So usually you don't have to say anything to anyone because you know you're going to hit a fucking brick wall. Your actions will say a whole lot. And at this point right now, I've done, since I've done so much warning, yeah, I'm going to take part. Turn your phone off of me. Yeah, you can do that, but you'll still be somewhere around people that, and, well, yeah, if you go be somewhere in the middle of, like, nowhere, but people want to go and do shit, okay? But here's the thing. Oh, God, I lost my train of thought. Whatever. You guys got to stop doing that. But here's the thing. No. Oh, my God, I'm going to get back to that thought. I know when you guys say stuff, like, oh, my God. Yeah, you be different. Since I've done all the warning, I'm going to go to this wedding, okay? And I know this wedding, they're going to have kids, and you know, someone's going to come up sick in that group of people that are in the wedding. I know it. But I've earned my way of going into and doing something normal, right? Believe me, I don't do a lot of normal things. But here's the thing. Even if you go somewhere without your phones, you're still going to be tracked through the cameras, the facial recognition. Unless you go off into the wilderness, okay, without your phone, okay. And that is always but you know what? At this point, there is nobody in my world that's going to do that. See, that's the thing, Jason Shaver, is that I don't live in a world where people would do that. Okay? I don't have that kind of people around me that are organized like that, for one, or even believe what's going on. I'm kind of a lone wolf in this. So I just kind of stay away from people. Okay? I'm going to do this one last thing that's normal, and then I'm going to be like, dude, I'm out of here. You guys will figure it out. Even Thanksgiving, I don't even want to do anything for Thanksgiving. Because I know with Thanksgiving, that's going to be another reason for contact tracers. And that's that. But, I'm okay with that at this point. So, because at this, right now, life isn't normal. And I have to understand that right now, what's going on in life is not normal. And the only way I can get through to some people is potentially not taking part in all this social stuff, which would seem like it's the antithesis of what you'd want to do. You want to see it, but no, we can't pretend that the fucking elephant isn't in the room. The elephant is in the room, and if you keep ignoring it, I don't want to put myself in a position where someone's going to be contact traced, and I don't want to be contact traced. And so, yeah. So if I were going to be the bad guy, then I got to be the bad guy. And then Jay says, I'm going to send my family a YouTube video about JJ, and that's it. Their choice are out. Yeah. I mean, I've done everything that I can do to give people a heads up. But I get laughed at. I get ridiculed. And I understand that. And I know where it comes from. It comes from just the deniability. It comes from in denial. It's people just think this is going to end November 4th. They think this is political. They think, do you realize I watched a thing about Trump last night on CNN, and I've watched Trump just say some stuff, some asinine stuff that would be completely like him going after the military. Do you know who Trump now is now who is he catering to? Are those that are anti-military by saying that the military are now, the military industrial complex. Do you realize that's pissing off his veteran base? Do you realize how many veterans are promoting Trump, and he is going after the military and the general, saying that they're just funding all these wars. It's the military industrial complex that is funding, these companies, these weapons companies like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and all these different companies, right? And I'm just like, are you kidding me? And so so it's like, I should probably turn off the news, but no, here's the thing. I can turn off the news and not watch any news at all, and right, and is my saying anything going to really make a difference? Well, I think that some people who are on the fence are beginning to get off the fence, and they're going to take a side, and hopefully it's understanding that we don't live in a normal world, and it's time to hunker down. It's not pretending that fucking everything is happy, happy, joy, joy. Your kids are targets, you're a target, your DNA is a target, the antibodies are being used from all the different DNA out there, from the testing, are going to be used in the vaccines, are going to make these antibodies even more hyperactive when you think about it. Yeah. And so, I just trip the fuck out. I just trip out the world that we live in. And so just understand that at this point, there's going to be no separation between as above, so below. Both the underworld and the above world are going to be mixed together, and you're going to see chaos. And at some point, there's still going to be an underbelly. Even when everything is happy, happy, joy, joy above, in this above world that we're in. Okay, and what I mean by that is that, yeah, they're like the dark web and the regular web. That's exactly what as above, so below is where you have all the legal stuff. Everyone that doesn't know that there's a major underbelly is all like, yeah, I'm sharing on Google. I'm sharing my little family pics, my little kitty pics, and whatever. And then there is the dark web where human trafficking, all the different, satanic stuff that goes on that you didn't even know existed. Well, that's all coming to surface. The elite pedophile ring coming to surface. All the pedophiles in your neighborhood are coming to surface through groups on your Facebook that are local groups, and you're like, oh my God, this guy's a pedophile. Oh my God, this guy's a pedophile. People are shocked as hell, and that never came to surface. Really, we knew about it, like we knew about pedophiles, but never really came to surface. People didn't think about posting them on Facebook. And just after all of this stuff with the new rules where they're saying no sex offenders are allowed on Facebook, okay, where, the Epstein case came to surface, where you're seeing the thing with Tom Hanks, them and his wife Rita moving to Greece, where they're more friendly to the pedophiles. They up and move and leave because they know that they're going to be implicated from the Ghislaine Maxwell black book. So you're going to see now chaos going on, where you're going to see the underbelly come to surface, and now it's there. Now you got to deal with it. And then down the road, that dark stuff is going to go back underground, but it's going to be there. It's not going to disappear, because if we're still reproducing on bodies that are imbalanced, sexual deviancy is going to be inevitable. It's when this thing with the Jilly Juice is when, and I notice it myself, when I'm doing the Jilly Juice, my hormones calm down. Like, I don't need to reproduce. I have no desire to reproduce or even go into the act of it, though I can do it when I need to satisfy my life partner, but I could probably go without needing to reproduce indefinitely and still be fine, not feeling the need to be a slave to that. Okay? That's the ultimate outcome out there, is to have humans that don't feel the need to reproduce or go be in the act of it. Because then from that becomes deviancy and criminal behavior and victim predator type of mentality. And so, you know, the architects of our society, when they keep breeding us, they kind of knew, and then they kept manipulating. They kept manipulating our genetics, manipulating our biochemistry. And you wonder why we have so much diversity in the population. And that's no different than the news is being genetically modified. Your food is genetically modified, but that's okay. You fight chemistry with chemistry, and that's where the Jilly Juice comes in. You fight chemistry with chemistry. You know, when you're getting vaccines and prescription drugs and you're doing all these things that your doctor tells you because you have to, you still do the Jilly Juice and then give a reason not to have to do your prescription drugs and everything else. Jilly Juice chemistry will fight all of the death, negative, dark chemistry out there. But you have to understand what you're in for. You have to understand what you're in for. And that is, you got to deal with pain. You got to deal with pain, and you got to deal with facing your demons. And if you're not prepared to do that, then you might as well just go down with the ship with everybody else. And it's going to be an even faster ship because of how aggressive the environment is. Okay? So you guys just mark my words. And those that think that everything is like normal, whatever. No, it's not normal, because your perception that nothing is wrong, your freedom that you think you have in this limited world that we live in, with all the different businesses that are shut down and people are struggling, it's going to be used against you. It's going to be used against you. And eventually you're going to be tested. You're going to come up positive because some contact tracer found you in the vicinity of somebody else that was tested positive. They're going to test you. You refuse. They're taking you to a FEMA camp. You can't leave there until you test negative out of there. That's the world we're heading into, for those that have their head in the sand. But I guess you'll be surprised. So, you know, I dealt with a headache the last couple days, and guess what? Like I said, all of your reparations happen at night, pretty much. That's why people die in the morning. You know why? Because when their body goes through reparations, they don't have what it takes to handle the reparations, they pass away. Okay? So I've proven my own theory just by watching how my body is adjusting to the universe and being on the J Juice. I haven't really been drinking my J Juice lately. I did do a few here and there, a couple days ago, early on when I was going through another adjustment of this COVID crap, because I'm pretty much assuming it's the COVID. We did have a phase 3 trial vaccine candidate go down south and get the vaccine, and then he came up here. So he's patient 0. So there's going to be another uptick in Ohio if it isn't happening already, and I think it is. And so I went through the adjustment, and all of my adjustments, my reparations, I mean, it happened during the day too, but as I am now adapting to my environment and I've repaired at the micro level, a little bit of the healing does happen at night, and I can feel it, but now I don't feel it at all anymore. But I remember a couple months back, it was the right side where the throbbing of the right side, and now it's the left side. So now both of my hemispheres are adapting to the new environment, and the right side is all about the, you know, creativity, the big picture, and the left side is your analytical portion, your scientific mind, communication skills. So, you know, when you guys have headaches on the J Juice, it means that your brain and your neurological everything is being repaired. And yeah, at first I was using a washcloth with peppermint oil and water and putting it on my forehead like this at night because, oh my God, it was just so bad. But you know what? This time I didn't use any peppermint oil and water. All I did was take a wet washcloth that was cold, and I put it on my head just to kind of be a little bit of a distraction. But that's it. That was the extent of me dealing with my upgrade. That is an improvement, like a vast improvement of me dealing with the pain, where I actually cleaned the house on the first day of me feeling pain, of feeling actual pain. I cleaned the whole house. So, so yes, you'll get to a point where you're adjusting to your environment with new viruses in the environment, and it's not going to take you down. You'll still be able to do what you got to do. Yeah, you might be communicable, and that's when quarantining for 14 days is going to be necessary, but at least you'll survive it. And that's the real bottom line. It's not so much that I'm worried about being quarantined. I've been quarantined since freaking February, March. Okay? So I have no problem being quarantined. And I would have no problem getting a vaccine because my body can handle it. But those of you who are so used to your freedom of movement, and when someone says that you got to be home for 14 days, even if you don't feel any symptom, and that's what they're going after, is those that are asymptomatic that still test positive. If you give them a titer test, which is going to happen because someone in your world is going to test positive and they're going to point and rat your ass out. You get a test, you test positive, they're telling you no matter how you feel, you could be feeling 100%, you feel like, oh, I'm a king of the world. Okay? And they say that you have a positive titer test for the COVID-19, your ass is 14 days in your house if that is an optimal place for you. And if you break quarantine, well, I don't know. Now, when HR 666 or S4315 gets passed through, are they going to allow you to self-quarantine? Or will they take you to a remote facility and say, okay, we know that you're asymptomatic, but we can't trust that you're not going to go out for whatever reason. I don't know what would substantiate them to take you away. But if you live alone, then yeah, or if you live with a husband and that's it, no kids, no nothing in the household, then they could put an ankle bracelet on you. But if you live with other people, you're going to a remote facility, and maybe you'll get vaccinated, maybe you'll get, who knows? I have no idea what really is going to happen for those that are asymptomatic that can't self-quarantine at home for 14 freaking days. See, that's what I'm trying to kind of get you guys to figure, to see this is what's coming down the line for those that are asymptomatic. It's not even just symptomatic people who are sick. They even have in the CDC where it says, how do you deal? And I was reading like the contact tracing protocols, because there is, if you go to the CDC and you see how they react to the contact tracers, or how they train the contact tracers, they give like several scenarios where someone that is, testing positive, that's asymptomatic, someone's asymptomatic or symptomatic or whatever, and they test positive, they want to categorize you in some, to figure out how they're going to deal with you. But what the substantiation is that COVID-19 test. And you don't know how those COVID-19 tests are, how sensitive those antibodies. So they may have adjusted the algorithms to where before it was like, it wasn't as sensitive. Maybe, if just put more of a definitive number on it. Let's say if you have 10 antibodies, that would make you positive. But if you're at 9.5 antibodies, then you would be like inconclusive, and then 9 antibodies, you'd be negative. They might make the algorithms way more sensitive to where, yeah, you might have a few antibodies because people do. It's viruses are part of your environment. They're part of your microbiome. That's in my book. Okay, viruses and parasites and protozoa and proteins and fungus and bacteria are part of your microbiome. They're in your body. You test positive one day and test negative the next day. I mean, it's false positives happen all the time. False negatives happen all the time. It's just whatever. It's just part of your biochemistry. But they're going to use your biochemistry against you. So one day you happen to be positive, you might have an extra antibody that yesterday you didn't have because you would have tested negative yesterday, but you test positive today. That's going to be used against you for 14 fucking days. See, that's what people don't realize. And so I'm just like, whatever. I've already built my life to be self-isolating, and I'm fine with it. I've already built my situation. My husband will, on the other hand, but they'll have, help for those that are working, that are, that have to be in quarantine, and, prepare for that. But, and there probably is some kind of help for those that are testing positive, have to quarantine, and they're the sole breadwinner. But yeah, those that are working and they have their employers, that are going to be mandatory reporters to the CDC and the public health. Yeah, you're going to see many people who are asymptomatic be quarantined. It's like, holy fuck. So yeah, they're trying to get it all. They're leaving no stone unturned. No stone unturned. And so you just got to prepare for it all. There is no one that's going to escape this. I don't care how far you stick your head in the sand. I don't care how far you stick your head in the sand. No one's going to escape their freedoms being constricted. But I've already constricted my own freedoms. I've already figured out, I know what the deal is. And I feel bad for those that have kids, because those kids are going to be used against you, and it's going to suck because, abuse happens in child care through the state, CPS, foster care. That's when abuse is happening. And if you don't want your kid to go off on their own because of quarantine, then the mother and the child, or the father and the child, are going to be quarantined somewhere else away because there's still another child in the household or somebody vulnerable. And that's kind of how they're going to look at it. They're going to look at both kids. One kid could be very hardy and very, very strong. Another kid could have so many predispositions, weak and whatever. And they're going to take that into account. And so that strong kid that has the COVID is going to be taken out of that house, while that weak kid who has test negative, is going to stay. And so then they take the strong kid, probably give more vaccinations and whatever, and the mother or the father will then happily volunteer themselves to go with that child to a remote facility. And that's kind of how it's going to work. Okay? So I'm just letting you know, we are catering to the lowest common denominator. The weak are going to be the ones that are going to dictate how it is our society rolls. How it is who's going to be sent away in your family if somebody tests positive. The weak person is going to be the one that dictates what's going to happen in your household. That's a scary thought, when the weak are the ones that are in control. That's some crazy shit. So, mark my words, those of you that have your head in the sand that don't want to think that nothing's going to happen to you. Oh yeah, I'm going to go off and do this and do that. Pretend like nothing is existing and try to feel like there's some sense of normalcy. There's nothing freaking normal. There is nothing normal at all whatsoever that's going on. And if you think that it is, then I just can't even relate to you. Because you're that far, your head so far up your ass that it's just like, I just can't even relate to you. And that's okay. That's kind of how they want it, which I'm fine with. So, because people can't relate to me anyways. People, they think I'm crazy. I mean, with the Jilly Juice stuff and now me pointing out some stuff that I learned in my background, I don't relate to a lot of people. I don't. And I know that. And I'm okay with that. But there's some of you guys on the Facebook that understand where I'm coming from, and I thank God for you, because you have been my saving grace. You have given me so much material to work with. I mean, you helping me is helping you, and I'm not an easy person. I know that. I mean, look who I was raised with. I was raised by a crazy, MK Ultra handler. Okay, so if you wonder why I act the way I do sometimes, very, very severe, guess where I learned that from my handler. And I'm going to call it my handler. I had a handler. But I broke ties with that handler once I figured out what the hell was going on. Okay, so just understand where I came from. Understand the world that you live in. Those of you that are doing the J-Juice, you are peeling back the layers bit by bit. And I appreciate your fermented filled rants, Jason Shalver, yeah, that's how you say your name. And come what may, hope for the best, whatever the best is. Expect the worst, because the worst is yet to come. It's just begun. Take care. Bye.